Hello. In this video, I'm going to talk about sustainable tourism, what it is and how and the role that it plays. I'm also going to talk about how the local government and community can help support it. So, tourism can damage the environment in many ways, through littering, leaving a big carbon footprint, through travel by boats and airplanes, cars as well, and also mass tourism. The tourism industry itself is really to blame here. They'll help to build hotels and ports for boats to come in that can't support that many people. All of this contributes to damaging the beaches, killing coral in the ocean, and disrupting the natural habitat for animals. Tourism isn't all bad, though. It's a very large driving force for the local economy, and in many places they rely on tourism for their main economics. So it's very helpful. Tourism is very helpful overall. The problem is the damage to the environment. So how can you incorporate the benefits of tourism while getting rid of the negatives? Well, that's where sustainable tourism comes in. So really what sustainable tourism is as it sounds, it's ways and methods and area of growth where tourism is done in sustainable and greener ways, lowering carbon footprints and all that sorts. Now, one way sustainable tourism can be implemented is through the scattering of tourists. So, for an example, if you talk about one area, if one area is marketed too heavily, right, then all of the tourists go to that one area. You can say the Colosseum in Rome, or Leaning Tower of Pisa, or Eiffel Tower, stuff like that, right? And you go there, and there's so many people there. There's mass places. Now, the real problem as well, because those places kind of expect that many people. But the problem is in when you have smaller places that don't have anything else, really, except for that one attraction, Grand Canyon being one. And so, what should be done is the marketing of the town/city itself. So instead of marketing one attraction, one restaurant, one whatever, what you should do and what needs to be done is the marketing of the town itself, because then not everyone will be at that one spot. It's this scattering of tourists, and so it's easier for the town to digest them, I guess, in a strange metaphor, and go through them. And so not everyone is at one spot damaging that one area. Now, an example is recently in 2019 in Australia, there's this rock called Ayers Rock. It's also known as Uluru. I may be mispronouncing that, but there's a specific name for it. But it's also better known as Ayers Rock. And in 1985, the Australian government gave that, I guess not monument, but that landmark back to the indigenous people. I'm going to mispronounce this. The Pitjantjatjara. I mispronounced that completely. But the point is that they gave it back to the tribe, the main tribe people that originally inhabited that land. But tourism and hikers still went on that rock. And at some point, they put signs like, no climbing or whatever, but it was never officially banned. And a lot of things happened, a lot of climbing, a lot of other strange things. I was like, I don't know, just people went up there and just whatever, right, at night and just did whatever and held like illegal parties and stuff like that. And so finally in 2019, after what is that, like 30 some odd years, more than that, 40 years? Yeah, 44 years. They finally banned it to go on the rock. And so now you're seeing this where there was some pushback, but a lot of people mostly were positive about it. Well, I think it was 60% were positive about it. But that goes to show, now that rock isn't being mounded over and just, broken down because of all the boots and all the traffic that goes on there. So that's overall a great thing, and that's how the government can help sustainable tourism, ban unsustainable practices. But the local government isn't the only driving force that can help implement sustainable tourism. First of all, the World Tourism Organization can also do this through safer travels and more sustainable buildings, but also the community itself. in Jamaica, there was a documentary in 2006 called Jamaica for Sale, and it's all about the tourism industry and the government, and they're working together, and they're building these hotels on the beach, and they're building this port for this cruise ship to come in. Now, the hotels on the shores and the resorts on the shores were just killing the beaches, and they also really they were blocked, so the locals couldn't get there in a way, even though it's their beach. Also, the ports they built for the cruise ship to come in, that killed the corals, actually. Also, you're bringing in a literal boatload of people that equals more than the population of Jamaica, and so that's extremely unsustainable. And I mean, the forest and the natural animals that live there and the habitats, all that stuff, just got completely disrupted. And the workers, the Jamaican workers who built the hotels as well, there's just always just terrible pay or didn't even get paid at all, and just all this terrible stuff. And so all this is to say that the local community needed to rise up against the government and say, hey, this isn't working. This is only killing, our land, our beaches, our everything, the animals that live here, as well as the resorts that they built. Well, the whole point of a resort is to get guests to stay there. So there's food, and there's shops, there's spas, there's everything you could possibly want, or rather need. And so there's no point, in a way, to go into Jamaica and buy the local food and go to the local shops and support the local economy. Instead, the resorts and hotels got all that money. So they weren't even experiencing any of the positives of tourism. The locals weren't. So they had to step up and try to get laws in place and make a change. Now, all of this is to better the world, essentially. There's all these different practices and different ways and different ways to implement and methods to implement sustainable tourism. There's also a lot of different things one can do. So it's very important, right, that this gets implemented pretty much everywhere. Tourists are a big part of it, but if my only choice is to go on a plane ride there, and the planes aren't sustainable enough, I mean, you see on airlines, there is on a lot of airlines when you buy a ticket, if you scroll down far enough, there's a part where you can donate, give extra money for to lower carbon emissions, essentially. But it's hidden, right? It's completely hidden, right? When you go through the process of buying it, there's not like a little thing that pops up saying, oh, hey, by the way, do you want to give some extra money to lower carbon emissions? It doesn't do that, right? And it should, more people would click it, more people would do it. How many more? I don't know, maybe not that many, right? But at the same time, more people would click it. It's like at Panera, when after you check out, it says, oh, do you want a cookie? A lot of other restaurants do that, and everyone says no, but some people say yes. So that's how you can get, the funding for that. Now, just closing out here a little bit, it's all very expensive. These greener buildings are being made, and all this stuff to help the production of it, and all that stuff, so that it isn't a waste. For example, in the Olympics or whatever, way back in the day, these coliseums get built, and then after they're built, they're just rubble. It's like, that's not sustainable at all. You're building this thing for I don't know how long it takes to build, and it's being used for less than 3 months, and then it just sits there because it's too expensive to knock it down. And so now they're coming up with more sustainable ways to build a stadium, and also it being used after, right? Now the swimming pools are being used after the Olympics, and now this and all these repurposing, and that is the change that is being done, and that's a great direction, and we need to keep moving in that direction. There's still all of these aftermath of the Industrial Revolution of all these just the smokestacks and everything, and it's just everyone's coming up with ways. People are coming up with ways of how do you make that less harmful to the environment. And just little by little, you're just implementing it in this place and that place and all these spread out places just to try and see it work. And that's really what needs to be done. So thank you so much for giving me your time, and I hope you learned something interesting about and useful about sustainable tourism, and hopefully you can somehow use it in your day-to-day life. Maybe look out for things and say, oh, I see that. That's sustainable tourism. Thank you so much.